have done that. I could have done that. I would have done that only if. It's that nagging feeling in the back of your head that won't go away. It's that moment that keeps playing over and over again in your head. My name is Sofia Greenfield, and I'm here to talk to you about this feeling. That feeling is called regret. So I just want everyone to take a second and reflect on one time in their life that they felt regret. How are you feeling in that moment? Are you sad, mad, angry, depressed? Are you blaming yourselves or others for the way you feel? Now, regret is an emotion, so there's no right way to feel it, because we're humans and we all feel it differently. But what does matter is how we physically react to that feeling of regret. Are you pacing back and forth, wearing out the carpet? Are you by yourself eating a pint of ice cream, remembering what you did? Or are you the person who doesn't want to have anything to do with it and drowns out that voice in your head by turning up the music? So, regret has a negative sound to it. When you hear it, you don't think of anything good usually. Not only is it sounding bad, but it can physically harm you in large quantities. So according to an AARP newsletter, chronic stress can result negatively affecting hormonal and immune system functioning, and can affect you emotionally for months, years, and even your lifetime. So a lot as teenagers, and being teenagers once, you must have felt that when you had a feeling, nobody else felt like that. So do you feel that way when you feel regret? Do you feel like you're the only person in the whole world who can feel that way? Well, you're not. So according to Northwestern University Professor Rose at the John Molson School of Business, that Americans tend to feel more regret than people in other countries. And he says, and I quote, that this is due to the possibility of Americans and their philosophy about it. So if Americans have more possibilities, they have more opportunities, meaning they have more choices. More possibilities equals more opportunities, which equals more choices. Now you could say that by having more choices, you're in control of your own life. But if you're in control and something goes wrong, it's your fault. And that's where regret comes from, feeling that you could have done something else. So this feeling of regret, there are two categories of it. And according to Gad Saad, an evolutionary behavioral scientist at the John Molson School of Business in Montreal, Quebec, there are two types of regret. Regret of action and regret of non-action. Action and non-action. Regret of action is doing something and regretting it. Regret of non-action is not doing it. So it depends on who you are, what stage of life you're in, and what's important to you. So at Cornell University's Department of Psychology, Thomas Gildich and Victoria Huston-Meldeth discovered through face-to-face interviews, telephone surveys, and written questionnaires that regret of non-action, regret of not doing something, is more common. So when you do something and you regret it, you already know what happened. You're living the outcome. So you deal with it and move on. But if you didn't do something, there's hundreds of possibilities that could have happened. And you get into the thought process of shoulda, woulda, coulda. And there are hundreds of types of questions that you could be asking yourself involving these three words. This shoulda, coulda, woulda thought process prevents you from living in the moment. Because you keep thinking about what you coulda, shoulda, and would have done, you miss the opportunities that are right in front of you. And if you do that, you'll start that process over again, and it's a vicious cycle once it starts. So regret of action and non-action are experienced by everyone, but in all different parts of life. So according to Stanford University professor of psychology, Richard T. Skinner, he conducted a study in 1989, which has been done 11 more times since then, and he asked graduate students from college to write down 3 aspects of life of which they wish to redo. So it was interesting to find that the top 3 of the many scenarios that they were given was education was number 1 at 32.2%, career was number 2 at 22.3%, and romance was 14.8. And there are many more after that. But if you can see, the numbers get drastically smaller after these 3. The second half of this experiment was also to see what college students regret, people still in college. And this proves that people in college and out of college regret different things. So, as you get older, your regret changes. So in this example, education here is the number 1 for people out of college. But if you're in college due to this study, romance is your most important regret, then friends and education. So these findings clearly show that as you grow up, regret changes. And that depends on who you are and what's important to you. So regret is an emotion that we will always feel, meaning you can't get rid of it completely, and it's not going away anytime soon. So the real question is, how do we deal with it? How do we conquer it? How do we battle regret and win? So those are my questions. So for me, by taking risks, embracing your choices, and then making a change and moving forward afterwards will all help you get over and conquer regret. For me, my personal experience of this whole process is last summer, I went on an Alaskan teen tour trip, and it was boots on the ground, no hotels, sleeping outside with 11 other kids from all over the world that I had no idea who they were, where they came from, their background, and I was so nervous about it. I was nervous because I didn't know anyone. I was afraid the foreign kids wouldn't be able to speak English, it would be really awkward, and then I was afraid that I wouldn't have a good time. So as the departure date came closer, I became more afraid and more nervous. But eventually, I had to accept and embrace my decision of saying yes to my mom and buying the ticket, and I had to embrace the fact that I was taking a risk. Because I never did that before, and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to get all out of the opportunity. So, and I did this because my mom wasn't going to refund the trip, so I was going anyway. So it's not the cheapest thing, so my mom would have been very upset. At the end, after my 23 days, I was so happy that I went. My regret changed my mind. I changed my mind about it. I realized that it was an opportunity for me to grow. And fear, my fear about this trip, changed to joy by the end. So, like regret, fear is a negative connotation to it. And for me, they go hand in hand. Because I fear regret, and I regret fear. It's one after the other. When one experience is done, I switch and go to the opposite. But after this experience, I realized that fear is negative as regret, and it doesn't push you forward. It holds you back. It doesn't come from a place of strength. It comes from weakness. When you're afraid, you don't want to do or be exposed to what you're afraid of. Even if you conquer your fears, you're still going to have that feeling in the back of your head. So I decided after this experience to look at regret and, along with fear, in a new light, in a new lens, and a more positive one. I did this so I can grow as a person. Because if you grow as a person by embracing your regret and fear, you will be able to accomplish much more. That's my trip to Alaska. So how can we do this? How can we look at something we've been looking at negative for our whole lives and change our perspective to positive? By taking risks, embracing your choices that you do make, making a change if necessary, and moving forward. Those are the 4 steps. By taking risks, you're naturally doing more. And when you're doing more, you're minimizing the feeling of regret of non-action, which is more common than action. You still might feel regret of action, but you can get over it eventually. Embrace your choices. We all make choices, and we all have to live with them. So why not embrace them and live in harmony with them? Because if you feel bad about a choice, regret will soon follow. and that whole shoulda, woulda, coulda cycle starts again. If you do embrace your choice, and you do start to feel sad or regret about it, make a change. Change your path of action and your thought. Steer away from the situation of which you felt regret, and turn to a new path of life, even if it's not completely different from where you started. You'll get away from that negative experience and away from that negative vibe. Lastly, it's to move forward. You can't stay dwelling on the past because you miss the present and you miss the future. If you keep dwelling on what you did, you won't see that there's a new opportunity right in front of you to maybe fix or to go past that thing you regret. So by moving forward, you have opportunity to do more, and you have a better life because you live it to the fullest. In the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take. Thank you.